Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Chessboard Baseball. This is APO, and today we're just going to do a quick recap of the Dodgers versus Twins series according to Chessboard Baseball, just as far as who were the best and who were the worst players for this series. But before we do that, I really want to get into the whole Dalton Russian situation and what happened in the dugout and the situation that he had with Shohei Ohtani. There's just been a lot of different conversations and a lot of different opinions as to what happened on social media. So I thought I'd weigh in real quick on that. And it's an interesting situation going on. And of course, it didn't affect the Dodgers as far as the victory. But it's obvious there are some issues there, right? And I don't know if it's new, if it's out of nowhere, if it's just something that the Dodgers are constantly kind of dealing with. And it seems like, of course, we've seen Dalton Russian be emotional in previous games. Anytime that he has a bad game at the plate, offensively, he goes off. He goes back to the dugout and throws a tantrum. And it's interesting to see the behavior and the nonverbals of the other players in the dugout as well. And you've seen the faces of Mookie Betts, and you've seen the faces of just the other players around him that are looking at him, right? Like, people are looking at him and it's a little bit awkward. Like, it creates a little bit of awkward situation because there are not a lot of emotional players or immature players. And I'm not calling Russian immature, just he's very emotional. Let's just put it that way. But for the most part, when you look at that roster, it's not made up of super emotional players. Shohei Ohtani, he might be frustrated every now and then, but will not have an emotional outburst like that where it loses control, kind of like Russian. And again, not a lot of it, this is not singling out Russian. A lot of players do that, but Russian is a special case in that it's not just breaking the bat. It is going back, slamming the helmet. He's flustered, red. You can tell that it's bothering him, clouding his mind, clouding his judgment, all these different things. But if you look through that roster, you look at Ohtani, you look at Pages, Betts, Tucker, Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, Alex Cole, Kike Hernandez, you see a pattern that there are a lot of mature, proven, even keel players on that Dodgers team. And Rushing simply, in my opinion, does not fit very well within that ecosystem. Now, we may point out to Clayton Kershaw, who used to have some outbursts in the dugout whenever he had bad games or anything like that. We just have to remind ourselves that that's Clayton Kershaw, and he may get a pass on those emotional outbursts because, well, again, let me just mention it again, he was Clayton Kershaw, one of the greatest pitchers in Major League Baseball history. Dalton Russian is a younger guy. He's yet an unproven guy. He's trying to prove himself. He's a backup catcher, has a future, and I guess the franchise could see maybe Russian being, I don't know, Smith's replacement at some point. But I'm not exactly sure. At the beginning of the season, yeah, we saw some of that. But since then, yeah, he had one good week, maybe. After that, he hasn't really been that impressive. And then we have this going on. And it wasn't just the emotional outburst, was his way of handling a situation with Shohei Ohtani, where Shohei Ohtani wanted to challenge some pitches. And it wasn't just that Russian was saying, no, let's just save it. It was a little bit of an attitude behind it. And that can create awkwardness. That can create things to be a little bit uncomfortable for the other players. Like, of course, Shohei Ohtani is an incredible professional, super professional. And he'll deal with that the best way that Shohei Ohtani can. But I don't think Shohei Ohtani wants to deal with that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're great and everything like that. But at Shohei Ohtani's level, he does not have to deal with stuff like that from some backup catcher. He really doesn't. And that's really what it comes down to. A lot of people on social media and a lot of people in the Dodgers media, who have a lot of followers and everything like that, are saying, no, I like this from Russian. This is awesome from Russian. It shows that he cares. And then in the comments, you have Yeah, it shows that he cares. Look at Kyle Tucker, he doesn't care. And that is one thing that I really don't like when it comes down to when we just observing and trying to, based on behavior, judge certain players. And I didn't like that at all. Oh, Tucker is quiet, but don't tell me that. You can't tell me that he doesn't care just based on him being quiet and not overreacting to strikeouts the way that Dalton Rushing does. And the whole Dalton Rushing thing is just an emotional thing that may not be. And again, we're not in that dugout to understand, but all we need to do is look at the collective of those players, look at the body language of the rest of the players when Rushing is going on that, uh, on those tantrums. I don't think it's positive, and I don't think it's something that they want to deal with. There was an interview that I think John Boy Media did back in May with Kike Hernandez and Alex Call that revealed something interesting about Dalton Rushing. And the question was, I'm not going to show it here, copyright or whatever the reason, but you can look it up. It's John Boy Media. One of the questions was, which teammate would you not, or do you want to avoid, or you do not want to sit next to on an airplane or on a flight or whatever? And both of their answer was Dalton Rushing. Now, whatever the reason that may be, maybe he snores, maybe he talks too much, whatever the case may be, it was telling that people, and again, Kike Hernandez and Alex Call, like, Kike's the party guy, Alex Call's the Jesus guy. Those two guys saying they don't want to sit next to you is revealing about, and then this stuff comes out. It just tells you a little bit more, perhaps, behind Dalton Rushing. And again, I'm not trying to bury the guy. This is just an opinion. I don't think his chances or that his time at the Dodgers should be over. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just saying, like, this pass that he seems to be getting from the media, I don't know if that's the same in the locker room. It's a little bit weird to me. It's just interesting to me because, yes, I think that these are professional baseball players and they need to grow up. You see those tantrums, and I played, baseball back in school when I was a kid. And yes, I saw a lot of that. And I did a lot of that. But then again, I was 11, 12, 13 years old. And yeah, like, I would strike out and I'd start crying when I was 9 years old. And I would throw the bat and I would throw the helmet. I would cuss people out and everything like that. But I don't think that's the same now at this level. It just isn't. And I'm not saying that he's immature, but it's definitely a sign of immaturity, emotional instability, and it doesn't help, especially in those moments, right? Yeah, you struck out, and it was really bad. I mean, we're going to look at Russians at bats that were horrendous this entire series against the Twins. And in fact, yeah, he had the lowest score for Chessboard Baseball because it was so bad, as far as his approach at the plate. But those tantrums can't make it better. It just kind of, gets in the way of thinking straight and staying focused in the game. So of course, did the whole exchange with Ohtani, did that affect his performance at the plate? Possibly. It possibly did. Was he at fault? Or was he not at fault? Was Ohtani at fault? I don't think it matters, really. Again, you have Shohei Ohtani. And the good thing about the Chessboard Baseball here is that I have tiers for every player, right? Because this is team dynamics, and in every team that we're ever going to find ourselves, there's a hierarchy, whether we want it or not. And it happens organically. Shohei Ohtani is a queen, Dalton Rushing is a pawn. That is, so Shohei Ohtani is worth 9 points, Dalton Rushing is worth 1. There's an exchange between a queen and a pawn. Who's going to win? Is the pawn going to say, no, I'm right? No, the queen is going to devour that pawn. It's just the way that it is. And until Dalton Rushing can start climbing up the ranks, becoming a knight, becoming a bishop, becoming a rook, there are steps to this. You don't jump from pawn to queen overnight. It just doesn't happen. So maybe he was right. Maybe he wasn't. The emotional outburst, maybe a team accepts it. maybe a team is willing to accept it. I just don't think this team with, again, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Kyle Tucker, Will Smith, Max Muncy, Andy Pajes, Tommy Edman, Miguel Rojas, Alex Cole, Alex Freeland. Look at everyone that Kike Hernandez, look at Teo Hernandez, look at everyone I just mentioned there and see, you tell me whether they seem like people who are comfortable with a player like Dalton Rushing going through those emotional outbursts every now and then. I don't think they are. But anyways, I hope, like he said, that he's going to be better moving forward. It's only time will tell. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Dodgers continue to manage that moving forward. But I'll leave that at that. That's just my opinion on the whole Dalton Rushing situation. Let's get into the numbers for Chessboard Baseball real quick. Okay, so we'll start here with Ohtani. And again, I have the stats and everything like that, but I'm only going to be sharing the Chessboard Baseball numbers for this. And Shohei Ohtani had a 9.93, which is actually where he is in the rest of the season. So he had a solid series for this, according to Chessboard Baseball. He actually did not record a single bad plate appearance that we can label bad plate appearance. His lowest one was a 6. His highest one was a 24. He was fantastic. It was really good, solid in this series. Then we have Freddie Freeman. Same thing as Shohei Ohtani. Did not have a single bad plate appearance categorized by Chessboard Baseball. And he was indeed the MVP of the series with a 12.85 being the highest offensively for the Dodgers. The Dodgers had an incredible offensive series against the Twins. Yeah, the first game, I think it was only 2-1. They were able to still win that game. The second game, they scored 12 runs. And then the game yesterday where they scored 4 and won that game. And Freeman was on fire that whole entire series. So 12.85. Mookie Betts also, he had a couple of multi-hit games. He was solid, especially that third game. You can see the 27, 13, and 18 with an overall of 11 for the rook average being really, really good. Tucker only had one plate appearance. It was that walk. That's why that's a 19. But then after that, I think it was back spasms that he had, so he didn't play anymore. Smith still hasn't played. Muncy was up and down a little bit, but it was a down series for him, especially after coming of the previous series where he was doing really well. As you can see, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bad plate appearances for Muncy, and even one with a -3 that was really, really bad. Pajes was okay. I think that middle game, that second game, he was amazing. That's where he made up most of his points. But the first game and the third game, not that good. Alex Cole had an incredible series, right? Especially that second game where he even hit the first home run of the season. This is back home in Minnesota, so he definitely wanted to show out for his friends and family. Great job by Alex Cole, so incredible series for him. Freeland also had a really good series for the times that he his plate appearances, and then rushing was pretty terrible. Again, every single plate appearance was labeled a bad plate appearance, including a -6, -4 in the same game. So pretty bad. And Robinson was pretty solid. He had the first 2 hits, right? So the first 2 hits of the season on that game too. Most people really did really well in game 2. That's where they scored 12 runs. And then didn't play the third game for Robinson. He was able to play the second game because of rushing being in the concussion protocol. But overall, great offensive series by the Dodgers against the Twins, and we'll see how they perform now against the Padres. That series against the Padres is going to be great. The Dodgers currently have a 9-game lead against them, so it's going to be good. But hopefully they don't get swept. They're still able to win the series and gain a game on the Padres. That'll be good. If they sweep them, even better. But at least 2 out of the 3, and see if they're in good shape. I will hold on doing a Chessboard Baseball ranking overall for the season until the 100th game, and then I'll be able to drop the full video along with the videos for each individual player as I do the analysis for each and every one of them. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.